What's up YouTube, I am the Planet Rocks and welcome back to another playthrough of Chess of Blades. So before we begin, just be sure to like and subscribe to my channel and hit the bell for notifications. You can also follow me on Twitch, you can follow me on Twitter, and you can also like and follow my page on Facebook. So please keep all that in mind, and now let's begin. Finishing his announcement, he bows respectfully and disappears further down the balcony, leaving behind a haze of confusion and curiosity.
Well, I suppose we'll just retire for the night.
I hope they didn't cancel the dance. I wanted to try dancing in my new shoes.
The idle chatter resumes its normal level among the guests, although a faint sense of uncertainty seems to hang over everything like a storm cloud.
What on earth was that all about, I wonder?
Baffled, I shake my head and start to turn around to look for Arden.
Excuse me, sir.
A heavy hand suddenly, firmly claps down on my shoulder. It belongs to the armored guard in front of me, standing to block my path.
I'm afraid you'll need to come with me, sir.
I beg your pardon, what's the meaning of this?
Adjusting his posture rather stiffly, the guard motions silently for me to walk towards the stairs. Is it just my imagination, or is he treating me like I've done something wrong? I have quite the bad feeling about this. Deciding it's in my best interest to cooperate rather than cause a fuss, I head up the staircase, trying to ignore the questioning gazes sent my way by some of the other guests. Hopefully, a vicious rumor decrying me as some sort of debased criminal doesn't start spreading during my absence. Damn nobles are like vultures around a carcass when it comes to calling each other out. When we reach the guest hall corridor, the guard, who was following closely behind me, quickly curls his gauntleted fingers around my arm.
Careful now, no need to leave bruises. When are you going to tell me why exactly I'm being taken to the naughty corner?
There has been an incident, sir, and you are under suspicion for involvement.
Incident? You mean what the announcement was about just now? Well, clearly I had an established alibi during...
Ignoring my objections, the guard pulls me forward down the hallway, this time far less gently than before. Well, now I definitely have a bad feeling about this. How on earth did I even get involved in the first place? I was just minding my own damn business. The room we arrive at is a few halls down from mine. One hand still firmly grasping my arm, the guard raps his knuckles on the door, eyeing me not too subtly from the side all the while.
Sir, I've brought one of the suspects.
One of the suspects. Bloody disgrace.
As I gripe quietly to myself, trying to swallow my budding panic, the door suddenly opens.
It's about time. Varison?
The astonished, bespectacled face of the Inquisitor appears before me. I just saw him at the dinner table. He must have been called out as soon as I left.
Linnaeus? You're the one I'm being taken to? Oh, thank goodness. You can extract me from this mess, right?
Linnaeus's hesitant silence dashes my budding hope of a quick end to whatever I've been caught up in. His eyes narrow somewhat sharply at me, growing slightly chilly, although a dubious expression remains on his face.
Well, if you've been implicated as a suspect, it's my duty to detain you, regardless of our acquaintanceship. Bring him inside.
I grind my teeth together at his dismissive response, which the guard obeys, pushing me into the half-office, half-bedroom that is presumably Linnaeus's quarters. Sitting in a chair in the corner is a small young man, huddled with his knees pulled up against his chest. Wait a second, haven't I seen him before? Alright, it's the kid who knocked on my door earlier. What is he doing here, though?
That's him, I think. Sorry, sir.
He gives me a guilty look, quickly glancing away and hugging himself protectively.
I see. Well, Rivian, it seems Alistair here is quite convinced you were out in the gardens when tonight's incident took place. So,
Wait a damn moment. What is this incident you all keep talking about? Give a man some details before you start accusing him of things he didn't do.
Linnaeus pauses, giving me a long, scrutinizing look before continuing.
tonight, a man was murdered on the castle grounds.
A cold sensation tingles down my spine. So something really did happen, after all.
His body was found in the gardens after the dinner, and as a result, everyone who was in the surrounding area at that time is potentially involved in the affair.
He pushes up his glasses in a matter-of-fact manner to punctuate his words, then glances towards the boy on the chair.
This young man here was within sight of the garden exit in the main hall during that period, and informed us of the individuals he saw passing through the door in that time frame. And you happen to be one of them.
That's ridiculous! Besides, Arden was with me in the gardens. He can tell you quite plainly that I wasn't going around stabbing my dinner fork into anyone out there.
I'm afraid Arden has been called to active duty for protecting the king at this time, so reaching him will be quite difficult. You'll have to be taken to a guarded area for further questioning in the meantime.
I growl under my breath in frustration, squirming in the guard's firm grip on my arm. There has to be something I can do to get out of this situation. A guarded area is probably the safest place to be with a murder on the loose, but I refuse to be locked up for something I'm not guilty of. Just as the armored man starts to pull me towards the door, a knock suddenly echoes from it. The guard abruptly jerks in surprise, shooting a quick glance towards Linnaeus through his helmet.
Well, don't just stare, fool. The door isn't about to open itself.
Yes, sir.
He reaches out with his gauntleted hand to hesitantly turn the knob. I have to say, he's awfully tentative for someone wearing so much armor. I can't see who's standing at the door since the bulky guard is blocking my view, but he doesn't appear to have been stabbed, so I'm assuming it's not the murderer.
Sorry to interrupt, but do you mind if I barge in on this chat for a moment? I think I can offer some help with this nasty situation.
The guard hesitates for a moment, then nods, and the visitor sidles past him.
Franz?
Why are you here?
Chuckling a little at our startled faces, the tall man dips slightly forward in a mocking bow towards us.
My, don't you two know how to make a man feel welcome? It's a bit cramped in here, isn't it?
His eyes roaming across the room, Franz pauses to study Alistair for a moment, who nervously shifts a little under his intense gaze.
I don't recall asking you for an interior space evaluation. What is your purpose in contaminating my chambers?
While the two of them offer each other challenging glares, I glance out of the corner of my eye at the door. It's open, and the guard seems distracted by Franz as a potential threat. I could try to make a run for it, although I doubt I'd get very far.
What a rude way of phrasing things. But to answer your question, I'm here to get my kitten off the hook.
Suddenly reaching out towards me, Franz curls an arm around my waist and pulls me nonchalantly up against his side.
And hand me, you blasted... Wait, did you say you were getting me off the hook?
Before I ask how exactly you intend to do that, I'm curious as to how you were even aware of this investigation in the first place.
Linnaeus raises an eyebrow suspiciously, staring at Franz with unmasked distaste.
Well, I saw the little blonde here being carted off by the guard in the main hall. So I followed them. It was clear enough he had gotten himself into some kind of trouble.
As he speaks, Franz squeezes my hip as casually as someone embracing a longtime lover. I'm starting to think I'd almost rather be taken to a cell than put up with this harassment.
I see. In that case, are you able to confirm his whereabouts from the period between the end of the banquet and the announcement in the main hall?
Franz nods confidently, lips curled in a winning smirk.
Of course. You were there too, Glasses. You saw me follow him after he left the table. I was keeping an eye on him when he went to the gardens.
You followed me? What is wrong with you, you thick-headed pervert?
That may be so, but I have little evidence that your words are trustworthy. Your presence in the gardens at that time also implicates you in this matter.
Interrupting my complaints sharply, Linnaeus drums his fingers on his forearm, returning Franz's smile with a derisive curl of his lip. Franz, however, doesn't seem to be fazed by Linnaeus's retort. In fact, if anything, his tone only grows more confident and firm.
It just so happens that a guard was with me at the time. I specifically requested his presence in case someone tried to jump the kitten outside. But it seems someone else got jumped instead. But my point is, unless you're going to start accusing your own guards of murder conspiracies, you can confirm my statement with him. The boy's innocent.
His unhurried words come to a finish, and Franz turns his head a little to glance down at me, squeezing a little lower down my hip. This time, though, I feel too shocked to even protest. Was Franz actually watching me all that time? Did he really know something was going to happen? He doesn't seem to be lying, and isn't flinching the slightest, even beneath Linnaeus's icy, skeptical gaze. I can't believe it. He must have been telling the truth when we met out of the balcony last night. Some serious things are in motion now, and I've been caught up in them. But how did he know?
Very well, then.
For a moment, Linnaeus gives me a long look, one that seems less accusing and more like some kind of warning. Is he trying to tell me something?
Now, if you could refrain from wasting my time any further, please leave my chambers so that I can return to my investigation.
He turns his back on us to face Alistair once more, to which the boy stares at him wide-eyed.
Come on, kitten. Let's give Glasses and his poor victim over there some privacy.
Grabbing my hand, Franz pulls me past the somewhat dumbfounded guard and out into the hall, closing the door behind us.
What in the...
Shh. Not yet.
With a surprisingly serious frown, Franz leads me down the hall in the direction of our adjacent rooms. A feeling of relief washes over me at being taken out of that situation, although there's so many new questions piling up on my plate that I don't know where to start. It's difficult to resist the urge to start asking Franz about what just happened, but his furtive demeanor makes me feel like I should hold my tongue for the moment. We approach the door to my room, and Franz nudges my shoulder expectantly.
Fine.
Muttering under my breath, I fish out my key and unlock the door. Why can't we go in his room? He's certainly going to get the wrong idea from this. Once we're inside, Franz closes the door behind us, flicking the lock before slowly turning back to face me. He exhales a soft sigh, shaking his head and rubbing a hand to the back of his neck.
I didn't think they'd strike so soon. At least I was in the right place at the right time.
I'll say, I can't believe you thought to bring a guard with you outside.
At my surprised comment, Franz's eyes narrow in a smug, mischievous expression, and he tilts his head to one side.
Oh, that? That was a bluff, actually. I only watched you from the window. I have no alibi, but I doubted the Glasses would take the time to press further.
I give him a stunned look. He was so completely confident, even while spouting out utter lies to Linnaeus? I don't think I'll ever be able to trust a word out of his mouth again. Although that aside, I suppose I owe him my gratitude for extracting me so effortlessly. Swallowing my pride for a moment, I let out an awkward cough and briefly avert my gaze.
Well, regardless, you have my thanks. Even if it was a bluff, it certainly saved me back there. But I think I deserve some kind of explanation for whatever the hell happened tonight. It seems like you're the only one who knows anything about it.
A roguish grin creeps over Franz's face at my words. Without immediately replying, he strolls over to the chair by the fireplace, lowering himself down into it, and languidly stretching out with his legs spread wide.
I wouldn't say you've done anything to deserve
Excuse
an
me.
explanation.
Sorry?
But I'll give you one. Just because I have a soft spot for you. Come over here.
He motions for me to approach the chair. So I fold my arms over my chest and stroll up beside it.
That's completely unfair, you know. How am I supposed to defend myself if I...
Like a serpent lashing out at prey, Franz quickly reaches out and grabs my waist, pulling me down onto his lap. I feel a strong sense of déjà vu as he tightly coils one arm around me, keeping me caged in this ridiculously humiliating position.
You really need to quit with this habit of yours, or one day I'll pull out a knife and stick your grabby hands with it.
Is that so? I don't think anyone's afraid of a kitten's claws, but I'd love to see you try.
I grit my teeth together and squirm out of principle for a few moments, but it's clear that I'm not going anywhere this time either. So I give up and relax in his possessive grip instead. I swear one of these days when he's not looking...
Anyway, you said you wanted some explanation for what's going on, right? Well, here's something for you. The man who was killed? He was one of the ambassadors.
What? One of the ambassadors?
When I repeat his statement in disbelief, Franz leans in to rest his chin on my shoulder, glancing at me from the side with amusement.
Are you piecing it together yet? Someone's trying to start a war, kitten. What better way to do it than to murder a visiting ambassador?
And as to why they want a war, well, the dead ambassador's country lost half its land 5 years ago to none other than your own kingdom. Let's not forget who was in charge of the armies at that time either.
He murmurs these words against my cheek, almost as if he's asking me a riddle, pausing to watch my reaction. Excuse me, sorry. Strangely enough, the question I want the answer to most is, how does Franz know so much? For that matter, who even is he? But those questions, as important as they are, certainly aren't the key pieces on the board that's been set up.
Do you know who's behind this? With so many guests here, it'll be hard to pick them out. And they'll strike again before we get a chance to do anything.
Oh, they will, kitten. And I know that you're going to be their next target.
His response doesn't shock me as much as it did before. But I still feel the blood draining from my face at how confidently he purrs out those ominous words.
You're telling me that it's some crazy nationalist who wants to kill me because of my father's actions during the war?
He suddenly lets out a low laugh at that, his soft exhalations tickling the side of my neck and making my skin break out in goosebumps. Never have I missed my prized personal space so dearly.
Oh, that's entirely possible. But I think the main reason is something a lot simpler. You were out in the gardens right before the murder, weren't you? That means you might have seen the culprit.
But I didn't. I only met up with Arden, and Arden's about as likely to murder someone as an eggplant.
Ah, but the murderer doesn't know that, do they? For all they know, you're keeping quiet for your own safety, or planning some kind of blackmail. Those would be standard games in court affairs, after all.
A growing sense of helplessness comes over me as Franz speaks. I want to say he's just making up things to scare me, but I remember now. Back in the gardens, I heard whispering, something that sent chills down my spine. Let them hear, and back inside, that's what they said. And if they were the ones involved with the murder, I'm sure they saw me or heard my voice when Arden surprised me. In that case, they'd probably think I saw them too. Shit. Damn it all to hell.
Well, what do you suggest I do? Go and throw myself over the balcony to save everyone some time?
As romantic a death as that would be, I think I have a better solution.
He flicks his thumb in the direction of my bed, loosening his arm around my waist at the same time.
You can go to sleep, and I'll stay here to keep watch. You'd better hurry up before I start feeling the need to extract payment from you.
Hang on a moment. You're telling me you're going to keep me safe until we find the assassin? Wouldn't it be a better choice to just arrange a carriage home?
Franz quirks an eyebrow at me, the corners of his mouth teasingly curling upward.
What do you think that would achieve? It's the easiest thing in the world to find out where a noble family lives. And I'm sure your home isn't more tightly guarded than the castle. It's better to solve the problem than to run from it. So your best bet is to suss out the culprit here, get them behind bars, and live happily ever after. With my help, of course.
I hesitate, reluctantly acknowledging the rationality in his words. In my moment of pause, Franz reaches around my back, suddenly grabbing my rear with a firm squeeze.
And before you ask what I get out of it, besides being able to make you blush and squirm, let me just say I consider this repayment of a debt. That's all you need to know for now.
Trying to keep myself from getting too flustered, I give Franz the most vitriolic glare I can muster and push myself onto my feet, backing away from him.
I swear if you so much as breathe in my general direction during the night.
Don't worry yourself, kitten. I'd much rather you throw yourself into my arms than have to coerce you into them.
He waves a hand dismissively, offering me a suggestive, knowing wink, and I turn away with a sigh. Can I really fall asleep with him here? Would it be a better idea to stay up? We're gonna go to sleep. As insufferable as Franz is, I have to admit, I feel at least a little bit safer with another person in the room. Even if that person happens to be a total lecher. Rather than taking my clothes completely off, I decide it's a much more prudent decision to sleep in my underwear, so I keep them on as I slide under the covers, not taking my suspicious gaze off of Franz. However, he seems to be lost in thought, prodding with the poker at the fireplace while staring distantly into its crackling flames. If only I could figure out what's going on inside his head, and what his ultimate goal in doing all of this is. Curling under the sheets, I drift into an uneasy doze. Occasional noises from within the room make me jerk a little, but eventually my consciousness wanes to a deep darkness. Okay. I think actually I'm going to call it a day there. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Be sure to join me next time for another playthrough of Chess of Blades. Also, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the bell for notifications, and please do like this video. You can also follow me on Twitch, you can follow me on Twitter, and also you can like and follow my page on Facebook, where every Saturday I am playing a live streaming session of Empire of Sin. Thank you. I am the Planet Rocks, and I'll see you next time.